Hey everyone! This episode is the second part of my conversation with Ladan Jiracek of the Implant podcast. If you missed the first episode, I'll make sure to link to it here. Hope you enjoy the rest of our discussion.
These, Neuralink electrodes could be in forever, and the body would not care at all, and it wouldn't, you know, mount an attack against it. True, there is the passive stuff, kind of like with my friend, the door handles kind of disintegrating. That will still happen, but at least it's not actively trying to attack it. So it's just very clever. I really like it. I'm a fan.
It's interesting. I guess it kind of makes sense. Like almost anytime if something's like really really small or small enough that like any person in that context can identify it, then it makes sense that they just don't attack it because they can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the evolutionary, maybe like beyond below 8 microns, like you would never get a splinter, you would never get a stab wound or something like that. So that's smaller than that. Nobody's stabbing somebody with 5 micron things, and maybe that's just kind of the threshold. Is like if it's above 8 microns, maybe it would start attacking the cells or whatever. Just it'd be like really, you get some really wonky results if your threshold went like to 1 micron or something like that. Then the body would just start attacking random stuff. Probably, I don't know.
Mm.
The body's so complicated. So you have
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of feedback loops working on each other, and then we push on one as scientists because that's what we're trained to do. As scientists, we push only one thing. You're only allowed to push one thing, and like just this what's it called, the Warburg machine or something like that. Rube Goldberg machine. Rube Goldberg machine just starts, and you get this weird result that you never expected. So yeah.
What were some of the other coolest things that you took away from the presentation, or both presentations?
Yeah, I mean, again, that first presentation was the really mind blowing one for me. The second one was a continuation on that, and that was a little bit more neuroscience, so it didn't interest me as much. But the first one was definitely like the fabrication and all that kind of stuff. And I especially like the automatic sewing robot that uses computer vision to avoid blood vessels. That was another thing that just like completely, I mean, obviously clouds the surgeon's view if it starts bleeding, right? And then it's also not good for neural recordings. And that's just another, that right there is another reason that the body would cause scar tissue. Is like, oh, the blood vessel burst, we have to fix that. But if you don't do that, then that doesn't happen. So that to me was just like brilliant. And just, I don't know. And I don't think it would have been possible to put all those pieces together just because that level of collaboration and funding required, like I'm talking in terms of the academia, university context, I don't think it would be possible. And then you'd be herding cats, and that's the thing about Elon is like, he's a slave driver, and honestly he is. And there's lots of complaints about it. I don't know if I would want to go work there because it's nose of the grindstone. You're sleeping under your desk. But it works, and you kind of get everybody motivated. There's no more cats. There's no cats in his company. There's only mules, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I took away from like being at Tesla is that like a lot of people will think it's like the more people or the more money the better. But I think in a lot of scenarios, it's like the less people you have, the better. And I think in many cases, the less money you have, the better, as long as you like eclipse a certain threshold, where you have like enough, you have enough what you need where you're not scraping by so much, but you still have little enough that you really need to be innovative in order to get to that next step. And then it kind of forces you to be innovative. Otherwise, you're like trying to force yourself, even though you have this backstop that you can work with all this money. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, you can definitely see the entities that have too much money and they don't even know what to do with it. The Saudi Arabians are like this, and they have the King Abdullah University, and they literally hire professors to come in and like publish under their name, and then they can leave. And in terms of money, and they have so much equipment, but they don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to utilize it, and that's in that case, it's more money than brains, and you need the brains, honestly. Like the money allows the brains to happen, but you do need the brains to come in eventually. and it's talent, and really like, yeah, there's just no way to create it right now, and it's unfortunate.
Sure,
Myself
yeah.
included, probably. I don't know if I'd be, in that batch of the talented people. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Elon was saying, like for Tesla, they would love to design or have like a factory that was spitting out like smart engineers, because, and this was like back in the beginning of 2020, I think. There's like this podcast, it's called the Third Road Podcast. It was about Tesla, and Elon was on there saying like, money is not the issue. Like it's just finding enough talented engineers. And I think that thread just like continues to run through all of Elon's companies, especially at Neuralink, where right now they're so small and not a lot of people are really aware of what the company's doing. Well, in the first event, he even starts it out saying, hey, the primary reason that we're doing this event is recruiting. Same thing for the second one. And I think like that's pretty much the bread and butter of any company. It's just like the talent and access to be able to motivate those people. And it's like, wow, really, really, really cool to see him do that on such a public scale.
And then recognizing talent and, utilizing it in the most effective way. Like those are all, I would say those are all different things, but they're all, related, and just being able to effectively do that is brilliant, and that's the, yeah, again, that's a universal, that's a key for any company.
Okay, so I guess I kind of want to transition to like more about you and the podcast, away from like Neuralink. So what was your initial motivation to start the Neural Implant podcast?
Yeah, so I started the Neural Implant podcast because I was working at BlackRock before. I was really into brain-computer interfaces. I went to Germany, did my master's in kind of a tangential thing, and realized I didn't want to do that, or it was a little bit different than what I was imagining. So I was like, okay, I want to get back into brain-computer interfaces because this is the only thing that's kept my attention, that's been implanted in my brain for that long. And but by that time, I had already graduated, so I was outside of the university system, which meant I couldn't get free access to articles. I'd have to pay like $40 an article or $1,000 for a journal, and just and I didn't really know who was doing good work in the field. And so I already had the Travel Wisdom podcast, and so I'm just like, well, I'll just create a podcast where I interviewed the professor. And I see if I want to work with them, and then if I have some ideas or blah blah blah, then I would be able to kind of go in there and work with them, and I'd be able to recognize who's doing good work and who I want to work with. And so that was it. Is essentially, I wanted to find a job for myself. I wanted to find the right PhD, not just a PhD, but the perfect PhD. And it worked. It really did work. I met some really good people, and I mean a lot of people, even if I didn't necessarily like, oh, I want to work in this direction, the same thing that you're doing, became good friends and everything like this. And then the audience loved it. People loved it. They're like, "Who's this guy? Where did he come from?" And and then I kind of kept it up because the people liked it. The audience liked it so much. So I'm just like, sure. And it wasn't much effort, and it really expanded my network, and I really loved it. So yeah, it's just kind of grow from there. That's been 4 years ago. I then went to going to conferences, doing videos and everything like this, kind of doing more documentary or like filmmaker stuff. Obviously, Corona then killed that, but now I'm kind of starting like a networking, like entrepreneur networking, neurotech entrepreneur networking group where I bring guests and consultants and help with that. So it's constantly evolving, but I'm keeping the podcast because the feedback is so great.
Yeah, it's such a cool story. I like that you've kept it up for so long, and I'm finding how difficult it can be to be consistent, especially like in particular with Neuralink. Like towards the beginning of March and then mid-March especially, it was like the news flow was pretty slow, and it was just difficult to come up with content for like some of the episodes. So I think it's cool that you're able to just like consistently reach out to people and have that weekly content.
It is, and that's why it's very easy for me because let's say there's on the order of 1,000 or 2,000 people in the field. I could just reach out to each of those 2,000, and that gives me 10 years of content. and just ask them like what they're up to and what do you see the future going and everything like that. So it's very easy for me, but at the same time, it spotlights them and it really helps out. You know, get a spotlight, get recognition on what they're doing, and even spark some new ideas in the audience as well.
Where do you see the Neural Implant podcast being like 3 years from now, 5 years from now?
Yeah, I was wanting to do more educational stuff, but I don't know if you've seen the BCI guys. They have been doing some really good educational stuff, and I'm just like, good on you guys. This is actually really good because I don't want to do this. Like, it's just so much effort. But I want to continue it, and then I don't mind it staying small. I don't mind it being like a niche thing for academicians or like people like really deep in the field, not necessarily, or those wanting to enter the field. I don't mind that at all. But I'd probably grow the entrepreneur network more, and that would be kind of an exclusive club that you'd be able to join. And so I'm going to be growing that. So I don't make money anything from the podcast. I do that kind of like a charity, but the network would be the I guess the moneymaker.
Gotcha. And those would be people that are wanting to start a company in this field, and you help provide some funding at the beginning in exchange for a little bit of cut of the company?
Yeah. So what it is right now, it's more or less established. Like companies, Series A, I usually 5 to 50 employees. Maybe they've been around for a year or two, three. Not necessarily a student with an idea, and then they're already moving in a direction. But just kind of accelerating that with good advice, a little bit of consulting, but it's like a group consulting thing where it's not necessarily me doing the consulting, but it's all the other members as well. You're like, oh, well, we did that 2 years ago and it didn't work because of this, and this. And so you can save a lot of time and money by doing that. Or, hey, go with these patent lawyers, don't go with these patent lawyers because they're good or they're slow or whatever, or they're cheap or they're expensive or whatever. So it's that kind of stuff. And maybe expand it to academia and all this kind of stuff. The concept is called a mastermind, where it's basically just a bunch of people talking, and it's kind of the most magical part of a conference was the beer hour, and that's where the real magic is made, because it's like, hey, how's that thing going? And not the canned talk that everybody's seen 100 times, but it's like the more personal, friend level, intimate kind of thing, interactions, and I'm trying to replicate that as best as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea. I mean, anything that can help like move those companies along too would be super cool. And so if they have that like really close group, that's all combination of experience and inexperience, and kind of passing along that information, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I see that as an accelerating factor as well. So if a company saves 6 months or a year, that helps the whole field by, I don't know, a few weeks or something like that. I don't know if you average it out.
How would you find money for the investments?
This is no, so it's like a group. It's like a club. You pay to be a part of it. So they already have funding, and so for them it could be a small amount to have this multiplier effect. So yeah.
Gotcha. I was thinking that you were saying like, well, okay, I
like
thought it was
an incubator or something like that.
Gotcha.
No,
Okay.
not right now. But I did talk to somebody at Cleveland FES, Andy Cornwell. He's doing something like this. There's, I guess, the Stanford Biodesigns. It's kind of like a fellowship, and then they basically have 4 people that are in the Cleveland FES. They have 4 people that kind of go through this like entrepreneurial year, and they're like launching a company, and they go through all the motions and everything like this, and get really deep into the neurotech side of things. So yeah, I think I want to copy that and bring that over here to University of Florida and just kind of springboard that kind of stuff. And so I don't know, maybe there would be a feature like that here in terms of the university where I could really push that through. But personally though, I'm doing this this mastermind stuff.
Yeah, I guess what I thought that you were saying was like you do Series A type of like investments, and then as part of the investment, you would plug them into these like networking club groups, and then they could share information and stuff like that. I mean, because that's almost like what Y Combinator has grown into, where it's like they are kind of part of this club and they share so many ideas and they have access to all these different people. At least that's what it seems like from the outside. But then there's also this like investment component where companies are being invested in, it's usually Series C usually a seed round or Series A.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Yeah, like a Y Combinator style thing, but for neurotech, I think that would be really good. I mean, you do need money for that. I personally don't have those millions to throw at something like that, but I think that's a really good idea. And maybe University of Florida can sponsor something like that, and I can help lead it somehow. I don't know.
Who are the people that you most look up to? They could be either in the industry or just like personal life.
I like to say that Elon Musk is my spirit animal, and I think that's a big motivation for how what good business design looks like, or what good business marketing looks like. Um, and there are some, I guess, other people that I look up to that I'm just like, wow, you're doing a really good job. And again, this isn't necessarily names that you would know, but they are usually like CEOs of startups, and I'm just like, man, you guys are killing it and just really accelerating quickly. And so, yeah. Beyond that, academicians, there's a few that is kind of like it's like really like hats off, and they do a good combination of not just doing papers but like also good science that's like innovative and everything like this. And I actually just talked to one of them last week. It's Professor Warren Grill of Duke University, and he's very prolific. He's like 500 published papers, and just everything that he touches. I mean, he's touched a lot of things in neurotech. So literally, I was surprised that he has so many fields that he's touched. So yeah. Beyond that, yeah, that's about it.
Okay. I guess I'm curious, like what specific characteristics of those people that are like CEOs of startups that you most admire?
I think just having a good strategy and taking risks, but not having it be too risky. Like, and then they have the experience to back it up. I really like that. So they have a very ambitious plan, but at the same time, it's not foolhardy or stupid or something like that. Risky. It's a calculated risk. Another one, I guess, is Dr. Phil Kennedy, and he's somebody that really put his money where his mouth is, and he was an electrode implanter, designer, and he implanted himself. Actually, he went under the knife and he implanted himself in the Broca's area or Wernicke's area, I think, and basically he was able to speak through this device, with this brain implant, and it's stuff like that. It's just like somebody who puts his money where his mouth is, and like, oh, you're working on this technology and you think it's going to change the world and you think it's great and you think it's safe, prove it with your body.
Yeah, that's pretty admirable. What are some of the things that you're most proud of?
I don't know. I still feel like I haven't done much and I haven't accomplished much, and I still see the broad horizon of where to go and what's possible. So I still feel like I'm a little bit in a consolidation phase, a little bit like, you know, I considered my year for last year, my word for last year was bamboo, and apparently this isn't true, but like bamboo puts his roots in for years and years and years, and then finally shoots up by like a foot in a day. It turns out it's not true, but I really like that idea of kind of like putting down the roots and figuring everything out, learning everything, and then eventually, kind of shooting up. So I feel like, especially in my professional career, that is in the future more than that in the past. But no, I don't know. I love the network that I've built, and bringing people together, and man, I have like more than 150 episodes. It's like, when did that happen?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so many. But yeah, I think it's very cool that you're basically like loading a spring. And,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Really.
What advice are you most happy that you took and most happy that you did not take?
Kind of calm down and like look at the long term aspects of things, and be in it for the long game, be in it for the decades long game, and you have to act in accordance to that. And I'm a little bit I don't know about hot headed, but like I'm just like say what comes to mind, and sometimes that's not a good thing. But yeah, then advice I wish I took, like kind of a regret, I guess, is I wish I had better grades in during the bachelor's. It wouldn't have been that hard, and I don't know. I just didn't see a point to it at the time, and I'm just like, I was optimizing the wrong thing at the time. I was optimizing how little work can I do to pass and to to do okay versus optimizing for learning. I guess that's probably my biggest regret. And you got to optimize for learning and your self growth versus whatever pieces of paper that you're trying to achieve as well.
There's so many folks that will prioritize something, whether it's grades or whatever, and they don't really understand the true reason that they're doing, like prioritizing it. If they do, then great. Like they're in some ways like probably more advanced or mature or knowledgeable than I was at that time. But if you're just kind of a puppet following what society expects you to do, then it's like, all right, great for you.
And that's what I've noticed, like working with the younger students who are, biomedical engineering is kind of what I interact with a lot, even though I'm electrical engineering right now. But those are the people that are like on the track to become doctors. And they have a problem sometimes saying no. They'll be up till 4 a.m. working on a project because you said it. And it's like, oh, that deadline wasn't firm. Like I was just kind of like, hey, let's do Monday, you didn't have to do that. And especially like, you should value your sleep, or I value your sleep more than this project. You know what I mean? So that's the problem a lot of times is they just kind of they sprint so fast, but it can be in the wrong direction. And if you're sprinting in the wrong direction, then you have to go back that same distance, and then you're also tired, so it's just it's kind of the worst of both worlds. I don't know. That's just my way of looking at things. I might be a little bit too lazy, but yeah, you gotta follow your heart, honestly, and that's the thing. And so, on the one hand, yeah, I didn't get good grades, but I think I followed my heart a little bit better because of that.
What's something that you believe that other people typically do not?
I believe communication and networking is huge. Like that is probably even more important or as important as the work that you're doing. And if you had perfect communication, if you knew exactly what everybody else was working on and the breakthroughs that they had, you'd save so much time. And I had a roommate, back in Utah, and used to joke, a year in the lab can save you a half-hour conversation. And it really is because like I guess it's for the socially awkward people, that could be the better alternative to not have to talk to somebody for a half hour. But really, the expertise that somebody else has, the wisdom that somebody else has accumulated, you can tap into that relatively quickly. And by doing that, you can really save yourself a lot from a lot of banging your head against the wall, uh, doing something that has been proven to be incorrect or doesn't work or whatever. Or if you have a new approach on it, then you can see what ways you can eliminate that don't work. So I think that's really huge, and that's why I started the networking group, was to basically shave down that time, and it could be drastic, like really, really, really drastic. Taking down something from months of work, like that's your sole thing, to you have it done in an hour. Like that can literally be the difference in that. So that's I guess it's how drastic it could be. Like, if I had to put a number on it, you can accelerate your progress by 100 times if you talk to the right people.
Based on like your history with the podcast, like you've been able to speak to so many folks, and so you've become really good at like being able to extract some of those nuggets from different people. And so yeah, I mean that's something that I would like to get really good at. But it's cool to see that you kind of knew when you were starting, and still now think like, wow, this is really valuable.
I don't know if I'm comfortable with you saying I've gotten good at it, because I don't really see a difference in myself. And I don't know, maybe if I did listen to like the very first episodes, I'd be like, oh, I was so bad, or I messed that up or something like that. But it's just kind of, you get comfortable with it, I guess, and you learn what you like. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Thanks for listening. Since you've made it this far, we greatly appreciate your support by liking, subscribing, and following us on all the major social platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you really enjoy our videos, we'd also greatly appreciate your support by clicking the join button down below the video or going to patreon.com/neuropod. Thanks again, and hope you join us again for the next episode.